Hello, we're the August 1823 Stitchers. That's Sally.
That's Angie.
We are recording this on Monday, July 24th. This is our first Flosstube. And here's what we're going to cover.
We're going to introduce ourselves, then we'll cover FFOs, FOs, whips, we'll discuss our planners, we'll talk about gadgets that we like to use, and then we'll do some Flosstube shout outs. And FFO is fully finished object, FO is finished object, and whip is a work in progress for those who are new to our channel.
Okay, so starting off with an intro, I'll start. And I brought my biography. I'm just kidding. I have my little notes here though. First of all, I have to say the most important thing you need to know about me is that I'm a born-again Christian. But beyond that, I was born in France because my dad was in the Air Force during Vietnam, and Mom followed him along with all a passel of us children. Then we moved back to my home county in West Virginia of Doddridge County, where we pretty much stayed, and I stayed until I graduated from high school. And I'm a graduate of Glenville State College in West Virginia, which was also known as the Teachers Normal School. So, of course, I have a degree in education, majoring in school library media and English. I moved to South Carolina in 1985, where I served in elementary, intermediate, middle, and high schools, from child development all the way up to 12th grade, over a period of 28 and a half years. And then I retired. And now I live in my recliner in Hartsville, South Carolina. I learned to cross stitch a bookmark with my name in it in Bible school when I was 9 years old, and Dad saw my interest, and Dad took over. He taught me cross stitch, embroidery, quilting, plastic canvas. He tried to teach me knitting, but he was left-handed and I was right-handed, and that was an utter failure. So he made sure that a lady up the road taught me how to knit. I met Sally over 20 years ago through the EGA, which is the Embroiderers Guild of America. And that concludes my introduction of myself.
Well, I was born and raised in South Carolina and have not been out of the 50 contiguous states. I started cross stitching. I learned in the 7th grade in my junior high. We did an after school program, and I learned to do a Christmas ornament. I also learned to knit in the 7th grade. I didn't get home ec, but they had a crafts class, and my grandmother taught me to crochet long before I entered school. I've been cross stitching a very long time, and I do other crafts also. I like to bead, and I do some counted canvas. The one thing I do not like to do is hard iron.
Agreed.
And now for our fully finished objects.
Okay, to start with, I have been working on the month-to-month series from Stitchers with the Housewives. And so I have finished April. And in April, everything is as it was supposed to be, except they had little puffs of pollen all over the place. And I was stitching this during pollen season, and I just absolutely rebelled at doing that. So there's no pollen on this piece. Then I did May, where I continued to fix things my way. First of all, I have a very green barn. There are supposed to be lots of other little flowers between these flowers, but I thought this reminded me of the 70s, and I just couldn't put those little flowers on there. I enjoyed the 70s doing this. And then we moved to June. June is on the barn that Sally painted and put together for me. I got the barn from Chantel's 141 design or something like that. Ordered it from Etsy. And June, I really ran into trouble because I'm a realist and I'm a little anal about that. And so the yellow strawberry seeds could not last. No, they're white on this. And the strawberries that were picked in the wagon had lots of vines coming from them, And I'll tell you, as a former strawberry farmer, if you came and picked my strawberries and took my vines with you, I might want to shoot you. So I just decided that when you pull up to a farm to pick the strawberries, the wagon's already empty. So I left an empty wagon and I made a "You Pick" sign. And by this time I was thoroughly frustrated with myself because I was making way too many changes. And later you're going to see the trouble I get into with July. Another item that I finished, well, actually I finished stitching and Sally finished by putting it on for me, is this Vera Bradley bag that the members of our chapters found at an outlet, and we all drank the Kool-Aid and got one and turned these into our stitching bags. And I wanted to personalize mine without putting my name on it because, ladies and gentlemen, you know how dangerous it is to put your name on your stuff, don't you? I hope you do. So I took a piece of cross stitching that I had just finished. It was a free pattern that I picked up from Sandy's Cross Stitch on the Go, which is my absolute favorite cross stitch store in Hendersonville, North Carolina. Hendersonville. And it's a free pattern from Lori. Oh, it starts with a B. I'll have to tell you later, I guess. And it came from a proverb, but it's been reworded. And it says, "A friend's pleasant words are like a honeycomb, sweetness to the soul." Now, I'd let you read this for yourself, but it's looking backwards here. So if it's backwards on the screen, remember this is our first Flosstube and we're still trying to figure things out. Another piece I finished was a bookmark for Sally that says "The Finisher." And I took the crown from the Ocean Pearl, which you're going to see later. But Sally's been finishing a lot of things for me, and I thought she deserved a reward, and she used it to put on her Vera Bradley bag. And the last FFO I have to show you, I haven't even taken the plastic off yet, and I still might not. Hold on, I'm getting personal with myself here. This is The Church by Ursula Michael, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
She has a whole series of this type of patterns. In fact, in my bedroom, I have one that's a butterfly that uses some of my favorite cross stitch colors that was made by a friend for me. Can you? Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so this is The Church, and that's the first time I've seen it without the plastic, as you can tell. I was very pleased. These work up really quickly, and I think Hobby Lobby did a great job framing this. I love the little, I forget what they call this.
It's a mat.
Mat, but there's a certain stencil. You don't have to just get a square, a rectangle, an oval. They have lots of these that don't cost any extra to do than the circle, the square, and the oval, which I had not known that before. So I'm sharing that lovely information with you. And that concludes my FFOs.
All right, so the first one I have is Save the Cups. I really enjoy drinking coffee. In fact, some people would say my birthstone is a coffee bean, but I digress. This is an artist design piece, and then I got the tray at the Dollar Tree, when it was still the Dollar Tree. Now it's the $1.25 tree. And I did a little staining on it, and then I just mounted, and it's sticking inside. And then I have a few things that I put in the state fair. This was an EGA class I took. It was a lightning round, and the lady said, "Well, you can stitch my sampler, but I'd like for you to design one yourself." So we had some requirements, and so I designed this sampler. I call it Memories of the Beach, and I based it off of a Week Style Works beachcomber, and then I pulled some colors to go with that. And it got Well, I got an honorable mention at the regional fair. This one I started when we were on shutdown during COVID. Sorry for the glare. And I frame things myself because I'm a retired school teacher, and we never have any money.
Because she's the finisher.
And now I am the finisher. But this was a stitch along by Tiny Modernist, and it was the Seasons Sal. And I won a first place ribbon at the state fair. This piece is an old pattern, and it's Tillman Hall at Clemson University, and it's kind of a memorial piece to my father because he went to Clemson, and then 30 years later, I went to Clemson. And we both graduated from Clemson. And then this piece is Whilst Iris Naps, Agnes Lyle, and it's a memorial piece to my mother. And I won a first place ribbon, and I also got a sweepstakes ribbon. So big purple ribbon. Purple is my favorite color.
And you'll notice she's wearing a Clemson shirt, and it's purple.
Of course.
Okay, so the next item is FOs. And the first FO I'm going to show you is in this needle roll that I borrowed from a friend because I don't have an iron. So I thought this needle roll, which doesn't want to let loose of my piece, this is the Ocean Pearl. As you can see, I can't tell if we're both in there or not.
We are.
Okay. We're twins.
Except mine's not ironed.
Mine's not either. It's rolled up in that needle roll, and that's as close as I can get to an iron. And we're still talking about how to finish this, but we're talking about a soft framing job.
Mm-hmm.
So,
like a wall hanging.
Thank you.
And I dyed the fabric for both Angie and myself. It's a 14 count Ada, and this was the Summer Stitch Along by Tiny Modernist.
And I can tell you, I'm not a big fan of Sal's for the very reason that the next part comes out while I'm still stitching the former part. But I really got excited when I saw the whale because I love whales. But this one, man, she put out the parts pretty quickly, and it was really intensive in the stitching. There were parts that had like 5,000 stitches, and you had a month to get it done, like we have nothing else to do. Oops.
Well,
FFO.
some Sal's are start-alongs.
Yeah, well, I don't operate that way, so I was under deep stress. And FO's finished objects.
Mm-hmm. Finished objects. Do you have any more finished objects?
I don't think I have
Okay.
any more.
Well, I have a few. All right, so this was the Summer Stitch Quarterly, but I didn't do the border because I just like the beach house with the birds in the sun. It's supposed to say "You Are My Sunshine," but again, it's an adaptation. And the fabric is some fabric flare that came in the kit, and that came from the Fat Quarter Shop. This is a Family Makes Our House a Home, and it was in a stitchy box from Everything Cross Stitch. They send out a notice, and then you can order it if you want to. And then I'm working on the Primrose Cottage 9 patches. I think this one is September, and I have the July one, the November one, and the October one. I've also finished the January and the March one, but I don't have those with me. And that's all my finished objects.
Okay. The next item are whips. And here you're going to see that, as Sally calls it, we are multi-craftual. Because we don't just cross stitch. Most of it will be cross stitch, but my first one will begin to show the multi-craftual of it all. This is my first needlepoint attempt. It's a silly cow that apparently, when I put this in there, I did not realize I had the thread sticking out. I love this cow. When I saw the blue pail with the yellow milk, it reminded me of my growing up in West Virginia and having the milk cows. And whenever, I was always very short, and I would sit on a milk pail, and I'd have to put my head against the cow, and I had to lift my feet up off the floor because our milk cow, Betsy especially, liked to pee while I was milking her. And I always claimed that, you know, the milk was unsanitary. I never saw it get in there, but it still unnerved me quite a bit. So as a child, milk and I were never great friends. And now I'm lactose intolerant. It's probably psychologically induced. My next one is one I got from Etsy after I saw Stitching by the Cape. I can't remember her name, but it's Stitching by the Cape or On the Cape. Mm-hmm. And she was doing this Super Mario. I found it on Etsy at Choco Coco Stitch. And I'm doing this to honor my father because he's the one who taught me how to stitch, but he's also the one who taught me how to play video games. And even up until he was almost 70, that man was playing video games on Nintendo and PlayStation and on a computer. So every time I do this, I have to smile and think of all the good memories of my father. So this is on Blueberry 14 count by Fiber on a Whim. And here's where I am. Once again, oh, that's just loose threads. Nope. Once again, I have the needle pull. Okay. There's where I am. The needle minders, you'll see on there, Sally gave me both of those. One was from her Black Needle Society box, because flamingos just make me smile. And the other she gave me when we started the Ocean Pearl together. Where did you get the sea turtle from?
I ordered a needle minder advent box last year, and it was in that.
Okay. So I started at the bottom center with Mario, and this is how wide it's going to be. What you see, that's the entire wall at the bottom, and I'm working my way out from the center out and from the bottom up. And I'm holding it together with the silicone cables, which also can be used as needle minders. Mm-hmm. If you don't have a needle minder, sometimes that's what I do with some of my projects. Next, I have August, Stitching with the Housewives. They're a month-to-month series. You've already seen April, May, and June. It's on 18 count white Aida that's been washed. All of mine are washed to get the sizing out of it. And the needle minder, I can't remember if it comes from Mad for Minders or Gina's Unique Boutique. Those are the two places I get minders from. Now with this one, I was so grateful to have one I don't have to change, except that I had already been using Queen Bee on the barn on another month-to-month, and apparently I only ordered the one skein, so I had enough of that to finish the barn. The sunflowers had to be a different color, so I looked at the DMC to find out what the alternative was, and it said 729. But 729 was too muddy of a yellow for me for a sunflower, so I went one up or down, whatever the number is, to 728, and that's what my sunflowers will be. And here's July. July is also stitched on 18 count white Aida that's been washed. And again, the needle minder of this cute little Betsy Ross is either from Mad for Minders or Gina's Unique Boutiques. And when I saw July, my first thought was, well, poopy, because the flag was pink and gray. I'm too anal for that because I grew up in Air Force, and we said all the time in our schooling and such, I love the flag, red, white, and blue. We used to say that after the pledge. I love the flag, red, white, and blue. And sometimes if we got in trouble during recess, that's the sentence we had to write over and over and over again. So it's been ingrained in me that the flag is red, white, and blue. So when I saw pink and gray, I knew I was in trouble. Now, I didn't have blue corn for the barn. For some reason, I don't know why. So I told a friend, because I don't have the ability to go to Hobby Lobby at the drop of a hat, that I was looking for a gray that was like a silver blue, like blue corn. And I showed her the picture of blue corn, and she came with 169. And it wasn't blue at all. But I went ahead and took it because I thought the gray especially would work for the truck. And to liven up the barn, I changed the black border to a bright blue. And I changed the flag, of course, to red and blue. And all the flowers are red, white, and blue. That's not what they are in the pattern. They're red and black. Then I ran into the watermelon. The watermelon, the colors are all fine, but there's 4 different colors in every single slice. And there's a lot more watermelon coming. So I had to put July aside for just a little bit, because when I saw August, there was very little changes. I moved on. Now my plan is to finish July and August next month, but you know, just depends on how frustrated I get. Now, this one, you know, I did Super Mario in honor of my dad. I'm doing this one in honor of my mother. She loved flowers. She loved red flowers. She hated pink flowers. So of course I had to change the pinks to reds. And these little brown flowers that are in here, these little brown things, oh no. My mom, she never could stand those brown flower arrangements that everybody put on their, you know, walls and on their tables that looked like dead flowers to her. So I changed the browns to purples. But I don't have, when I say I changed, I haven't quite finished. I did all the grid, and I showed you my back. I did all the grid. Now this needle minder, I even kept the card here for you. This needle minder comes from the Berripatch, which we haven't really discussed yet. The owner of the Berripatch was also in the EGA, and she had a little store called the Berripatch, which has since closed, but she has an Etsy store called the Berripatch. And I love to get her earth minders. Aren't they called? Earth, tiny rare earth needle minders. And I thought this flower was perfect with the flea market flowers. This is done on 14 count, which is my favorite 14 count. Morning Mint by Rogue that I got from Barefoot Needle Arts. And the last, nope, not the last one, next to the last one. This is the 104 book reading tracker by Stitching Cabin, and I got it at stitchingcabin.com. But I believe you can also get it on Etsy, and she has the 52 book reading tracker as well. But my thought was I turned 60 next month, and I wanted to see how fast I could read 104 books starting from the age of 60. I used to be able to read 100 books a year. Notice the used to. So it'd be interesting to see how much I slow. And also, when I say read, I consider audiobooks reading them. I do a lot of audiobooks while I stitch. I did more audiobooks before I discovered Flosstube, but I still like audiobooks if I can get them. This is done on 14 count. Well, it's one, what's that Ada that's painted on one side but not on the other?
Was it Fabric Flare or Vintage Country Mocha or
No, it's blue.
blue? Stormy Sky?
Okay.
I don't know what it is.
On Flosstube, I was told by, well, I wasn't personally told, but it was indicated that if we were stitching on a Q-snap like this, we're wrong. We should stitch in a ditch this way. Well, with all good intentions, I put it on with the blue side in the ditch. But when I started whipping my stitches out, guess what I did? I stitched on the white side. So even though I intended the background to be blue, it's white. I changed the genres because I don't do romance, for one thing. So I changed the genres, and I also changed all the colors of the books that I'll do as time goes on. But I pretty much stitched the shelves, and the plants and stuff I'll stitch as I read. I think that's all I have to say about that one. And the last one, remember Sally's Every Season that she finished? Every Season by Tiny Modernist. 6-part
Stitch
Sal. It took me 3 years to finish the first
2 parts?
octagon.
Oh.
It took me a month to do this part, this middle part. But it's going to be a while before I finish this because every octagon is full coverage. That's a lot for me. It's on 14 count Moss Celadon. All of them were pretty much called for.
I think we did do. I know mine were.
But some, like sometimes it said, you know, a week's or whatever, and we did the DMC instead for various reasons. I don't know. It's too long for me to remember. The needle minder here, and my cutie here, I'm pointing at the back. He's got a cute little face. He came from Wish. I just looked up needle minders, and he comes up just about every time you do needle minders. You can get him in all different colors. And because there's so much sunny, you know, landscape in this, I did. But anyway, there he is. Notice there's no ironing. No ironing is done in my house because there's no iron.
My iron's broken.
I have to beg somebody to iron it for me. And then I may beg somebody either to finish it for me or I pay somebody to finish it for me.
That
is all my FOs.
Or your whips.
Oh, excuse me. All my whips.
All right. Okay. So the first whip I'm going to show is from Heartstring Samplery, Sunday Stitches. And it's the one on the back. It's In the Garden. It's one of my mother's favorite hymns. And so at her funeral, I had our organist find an arrangement. She did it in the prelude. And here's how far I've gotten. And Angie told you about Barefoot Needle Arts, but Amy designed a Currents and Tides sampler, and so I've started it. Whereas Angie likes 14 count Ada, I like 28 or 32 count Lugana. Those are my favorite ones, and I love stitching with 2 threads. Even sometimes on 36, I'll stitch with 2 threads. It just depends on how loose the weave is. But like I said, I've been stitching for a long time, and we always stitch with 2 threads on 36. I've tried 40. That's all I'm going to say about that. But this is how far I've gotten on this one. And I'm using some of the overdyes and DMC. Last year, Kitten Stitcher, Teresa Vanette, put out a sampler box, and I ordered it. And it was Rachel Sheard, 1900. The thing about her was she was 82 when she stitched this. Thought that was pretty cool. And this is as far as I've gotten. This needle minder came from Crafty Emily. I won it on one of her giveaways back when she used to make a list of the names and then randomly pick a number and I won it. It came from England, so I kept the envelope. I thought it was pretty cool. And then Barefoot Needle Arts did a Toes in the Sand box, mystery box. And so this is how far I've gotten on that one. And it's Cottage by the Sea. It's using sulkies. And I like sulkies, but I still like my 2 threads best. I do a loop start, and it's just so much easier for me to tie off and tie on. And this is a piece of blue even weave that I got in a box, mystery box. And then last but not least, for today, this is the Angel of Love. And I know the wing is not finished, but I got tired of doing beige. So I moved over to the blue, and it's amazing how just using DMC you can get that color variation. And that's what I've been working on. All right, planners.
Okay. Well, one of the things that, before I forget, is one of my plans is to get this into a coaster. I do chicken scratch, and it's where you do stitches, especially stitches on gingham, and come up with designs. I like to do the heart especially. And Barefoot Needle Arts has ordered those coasters for me, so when they come, I'll be able to put this in there. I should have shown it in my finished objects, but it was on the bottom underneath all my whips. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
So I started Flosstube in February. And now my friends, some of them say, why are you stitching so much? You didn't used to stitch this much. What's going on with you? Well, I watched a Flosstube in February. And then I watched another one. And by the time I was done at the end of March, I gave up Hulu because all I was doing was watching Flosstubes. I'm not watching baseball right now. Do you understand the meaning of that?
I do.
This is strange for me. So this is what my planner looked like in February. Okay? That's about what I stitched. I only stitched on Mondays because Monday we meet at the library. And if you're from Hartsville, South Carolina, or the surrounding area, we meet Mondays from 5 to 7 at the Hartsville Library. Unless the library is closed, we will be here. So this is my planner in February. Then in March, now you'll notice in March, I started with one project and I did it 3 weeks in a row because I was a monogamous stitcher. And then Flosstube really dug into me and I started stitching 3 different projects at a time. Sometimes 2 projects on the same day. This is not me. Or wasn't me. As each month continues, I just write down what I worked on that day. I don't write down how many stitches or any of that stuff, how many hours, how many minutes. You know, I don't do any of that stuff. I just write down what I was stitching. That's it. Here, I did a SAF, which I learned
Start and
finish, and I did it in the same day. And it was that Primrose Cottage Be Nice or Buzz Off, which I will bring to show you, except it's in the library exhibit right now. So we, as the Hartsville Stitchers, we have a glass case where we show various forms of handcraft. And so the Be Nice or Buzz Off is currently in that one. Then, if I have it finished, I also circle it. There are some days when I am just sick, and that's all I write is sick. So, unfortunately, that happens way too much. This is June. Notice over here on the right, I wrote Ocean Pearl 12 days. So in June, I worked on Ocean Pearl 12 days. We started in May. And so in April, in April part 1, 14 days in April. And in May, it was Grace is not my middle name. 18 days, and then June was 12 days. And did I have to work on it in July?
I did.
I did not. I finished it in June.
I had to work on it in July.
And then at the end of this book, which I'll not be purchasing in the future because I basically just use that monthly calendar and this thing at the end. So I'll be finding something else better, I think. But anyway, I put Ocean Pearl 50 days total. That's the only thing I keep track of is how many days I touched it. Days doesn't mean I worked on it 6 hours. It could be 1 hour. If I stitch that day, it counts as a day. That's it. So that's how I use my planner. Now in August is blank right now, but on my phone, I have listed days that I am going to start projects. For instance, on August 1st, Sally and I are starting the Summer Quaker with the Huga Stitcher, who's heading this out because it was her birthday and this was what she chose. And I think she's doing a 6 for 60. I think she's where I learned about the 6 for 60. I'm turning 60 in August, so I'm doing 60 projects. So I did, Sally and I are also doing Seaside Tiny Town.
We're doing that one for my birthday.
And we're doing that one, right.
But we're going to start a little bit early because...
Right. We're going to start between her birthday and my birthday.
Correct.
I'm the 18th, she's the 23rd, and that's why we're the August 1823 Stitchers. Okay, so I'm also doing Yasmin Made with Loves, Uniqueness of Others, Peacock, also known as the Diversity Peacock by some Flosstubers. I'm doing Oceans of Wisdom 2. I am a big fan of whales, and there's a little whale, and I love lighthouses, and I love ocean as long as it doesn't involve palm trees or palmetto trees. Not a fan.
we live in the Palmetto State.
I know, but we should be called the Pine Tree State. We have more of those. Little Dove Designs, Adjust Your Sails, which I started, and I put hashtag exclamation point @ whatever the other one is that Cubert always says when he falls and, you know, makes his little sound. Because it was a fail. The fabric did not work. The white did not show. So I decided I'd try again after I bought different fabric, and I chose this one as my August birthday thing because I'm not going to let this beat me. And the last one I'm doing, like I said, I love whales. And this is the Wonder Whale, and also known as the Monster Whale, depending on which Russian translator you want to follow. I saw Lost in Stitches do this. Mine's going to be summery. I don't do fall colors very well. You'll see me do a fall bell pull later on. But for whales, no, I'm doing summer. And it's going to be on blue. So those are my 6 for 60 starts. That's my plan for August, except for finishing July and August, month to month.
Well, my planner is original. $7 off of Amazon, and it's a 2-year planner. And here's what my July looks like. Yes, I like colorful stickers, and I did put the monthly tabs. You know, Hobby Lobby had a sale, so why not? And I have actually stitched every day. I don't keep up. I didn't go back and tally the number of days I worked on Ocean Pearl, but I did have to work on it in July. And the pieces I'm stitching on, I put on the side, and when I finish them, I check it off. For August, I'm starting those few things with Angie, but I'm also wanting to start the August Peridot Fairy from Nora Corbett. I won that in a giveaway too. And also the Beach Cottage by Victoria Sampler. A friend of mine gave that to me several years ago for a birthday, and I have not started it. I'm going to talk about it.
Yep, we have the favorite gadget.
All right, so My favorite gadget, and yes, this is a plug for Barefoot Needle Art because they are technically our LNS. They're closest to us.
Local needlework shop.
Yes, we're in Florence, South Carolina. So it's like halfway between Columbia and the beach, basically. So Barefoot Needle Arts is closest. And corner gauge. I'm usually a upper left-hand corner starter, and I usually do 3 inches, depending on the piece of fabric. Now, the piece of fabric I have for the Summer Quaker, I might just start in the middle and work out because I don't have as much margin. But that's my favorite gadget.
And currently, the silicone cables are becoming my best friend, and for all these big projects that don't fit in my 8x10 Q-snap. I got these from Amazon. Rich and Ray magnetic silicone tiles, and they do the job. And plus, they're needle minders as well. So
they'll also pull your fabric on your scroll frame too.
And I forgot to say one thing in my plans is I learned how to make thread sleeves from Flosstube. And so I have this Fruit of the Spirit fabric. I love the fruit. I love all the fruits of the spirit listed on them. And that's what I'm going to make thread sleeves, because Flosstube changed me again from bobbins to floss drops.
I love floss drops.
I love floss drops. But I don't like how raggedy they get and how, they can get all messed up. So you'll be making some thread sleeves to stop that problem. We also want to again plug in, Berripatch, because
she was a member of our chapter, and I think she still is a plural member of our chapter.
She is.
And we usually see her once a year. But she designed this Pushing Flowers, and Angie and I both want to start it, but we haven't. But it says, it may be years or even hours, but sooner or later, we push up flowers. And Sherry also makes the button and beads scissors fobs, and she puts a needle threader on the end, and she makes these snap trays. These are great to put on your desk, stitchy spot, put things in it.
Yeah, you need to check out her Etsy shop. It's Berri, Berri Patch. Now she went on, her shop went on vacation until the 24th, which is today. So guess what? It's open now.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yes. So they had a stitching retreat in her chapter in Texas.
That's right.
The reason her shop closed is because she moved closer to family with her husband. And they're in Austin, Texas?
Outside of
Arlington, Texas. So the next thing we have is shout outs to Flosstubers, and we decided to do something a little different because I can't limit it to just one. And I'm sorry for saying I just realized I'm doing that a lot. We'll get better. So we decided to be a little bit like Siskel and Ebert, who gave a thumb up for, the movies. Each one could give a thumb. We're going to give needles up. And we may even have some fantastic needle award things to hold up in the future. But we had 11 categories. And what we'd like you to do, if you're watching this Flosstube, is to comment below on any categories that you think we might need to consider for the next time we give the award. We may not give each of these awards every time, but for the purposes of our first Flosstube, we're going to recognize 11 categories. And if you're seeing this backwards, again, I apologize. The first one is Young Stitchers, and Sally, who did you choose?
Kennedy Creates.
And this is who I chose, Kennedy Creates.
Ah.
So she gets two needles up.
Yeah.
All right. The next one is 2 or More Stitchers. Sally, who did you choose?
Stitching with My Little.
Okay. I thought about that one, but I went with B&E Stitchery. And the reason I did that, now Stitching with My Little, if you don't know, is in England. And it's a mother-daughter, and the little girl's what, 12?
13.
Something like that. I love watching that one too.
I like the
But
accents.
I went with B&E Stitchery this time because what that family has been through in the last 6 weeks, with the sudden death of her husband, the mother, it's another mother-daughter pair, sudden death of her husband who had encouraged them to do a floss tube, and they pretty much barely started when he was killed in a car accident, and they still managed to come back. And not only are they doing continuous floss tube, to honor him, but they're also helping to organize a retreat. So I just felt like they should get that for the first time for me. Okay, so good humor is the next category. Sorry, you might do better holding these things up than me.
Oh, you're doing a good job.
Good humor. Who did you choose?
Welcome Stitchery.
Which I just watched last night.
Well, they're really whips and sips.
Yeah, sips and whips.
Yeah, something like that. They were drinking Moscow Mules last night.
Yes.
On the last one, Justine cracks me up.
Yes. Well, they had her niece there.
No, Shelley's niece.
Shelley's niece was there. Morgan? And she's multi-talented.
She is, and she's a teacher.
And she's funny, too.
Yeah.
She's just as funny as they are. I hope she comes back because
Is that who you had?
she added something. Now, who I had for good humor was Garnet Rose.
I like them, too.
Because I don't know their names. I should know their names because I watch them every time they put something out. And they're also organizing a retreat. They work at Maggie's on Main.
That's right.
And the one always sits on the left. She is part ownership or something in it, I think. And the one that sits on the right, she's the one who works there, like quilting and teaching classes and stuff like that. And she is so funny. And the one on the left has such a straight face that it makes the other one laugh even more. And then I'm laughing. It's just very contagious. And I don't laugh out loud very much. And they make me laugh out loud. The next one is Fellow South Carolinas.
I have Stitching Scotty.
Oh, yep, that's a good one.
Mm-hmm.
Now explain Stitching with Scotty.
No, Stitching Scotty, she's up in the upper part of the state. And what do you want me to say?
Oh, she's got 2 Scotties.
Oh, okay.
Stryker and Winston, I think. And I could have chosen that one too.
Who'd you pick?
But because of what happened to this family on the 4th of July, I chose Carolina Stitchers. Because I just have 3 words for you. Refrigerator on fire. You got to watch their episode right after the 4th of July.
Oh, because I watched the whip parade. But
It's hilarious. Okay, next is American. Just a general American.
Oh, I thought that was
Americana. Yeah, Americana is what I said, yes.
I had the 911 Stitcher.
And they are,
I
don't know who they are.
911 Stitcher. Oh my goodness, she's in Southern California, and I won a book of days from her one time, and she always does previews of things coming out. And she's a retired 911 dispatcher.
Does she always put an emergency dog at the beginning?
Yes,
okay.
She puts
I have
usually
seen
a German
that one.
Shepherd.
I just couldn't
And
place.
I carry her. I watch her, but
Yeah.
she goes to lots of retreats.
I chose the Sunshine Stitchers because they just did a video where they traveled up to Welcome Stitchery.
Mm-hmm.
And their comment about cows and barns and grass and EJ taking a walk down an asphalt pathway where there were bushes and a couple of trees, and she thought she was going into the woods. I just thought that was hilarious. And then she commented about how she hadn't realized how much concrete they lived in when they returned. It was kind of overwhelming to her to return. So I thought that showed a little bit of Americana in that episode. So that's why I chose them. How about foreign stitchers?
Stitchy Sally.
Stitchy Sally.
Stitchy Sally. Yes,
Okay.
she's in England.
I was thinking Stitchy Scotty. I was like, wait a minute.
Stitchy Sally.
Stitchy Sally.
She and I have the same name. She just didn't spell it the right way.
So who's Stitchy Sally again?
Well, she stitches a lot of blackbirds, and she finishes things, and she's done a drum, and she complains that it's not perfect, but it looks good on camera. She does a lot of finishes.
Is she the one her husband's retiring and she's worried about?
Yes,
what
they've had some building issues with their
Yes.
house, and it's settled, and they have to jack some things off.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I'm new, remember, to all these. There's hundreds of floss tubes. I'm new to all this stuff. I chose Lost in Stitches.
Oh yeah, she's Canadian.
She's from Canada, and she, has been going through a lot with her cancer, and yet she still has such a heart of joy, and still is giving. I mean, this woman is stage 4 cancer, and she's making things for people, for her neighbors down the street and such. So and her husband has just received his Canadian citizenship, and they did this thing she did most of the cross stitch of Canada, the maple leaf and all the emblems, but he did the last few stitches. And so I thought that was, covering foreign nationality or something. But I love watching Lost in Stitches.
I forget that Canada is foreign.
Yeah.
Because they're attached to North America.
I'm amazed how many are in Canada, how many floss tubes are from Canada.
Yeah.
They have quite a few. Okay, one of my favorites. Animal Co-Star.
Well, I had 2 on this one.
I did too, and I had to make a tough choice.
Nope. I'm going to say them both.
Okay.
Janet Jabber and Alba Stitcher. Janet Jabber's out in the Midwest, Indianapolis area, somewhere like that. And she has a large dog and a small dog, and they're adorable. And then Alba Stitcher, her floss tube is named after her cat. It's a white cat named Alba.
I didn't know that.
And she actually came to Scotland with her from, I think she was in the Netherlands at first.
Okay. I didn't know that. I've watched Alba Stitcher, but I've never seen her cats. And I
She
didn't know
makes an
anything.
appearance occasionally. She's a beautiful white cat.
Janet Jabber has one dog that jumps into her lap and stuff. Opie, yeah. The other dog she kind of mentions, but
Well, you can hear her go
Opie hurt his
pitter-patter.
leg,
Yes, he did.
and so that's been a concern. I chose for this time Piper from Stitching with the Housewives, and mainly because I have a Chihuahua Pekingese who barely watches TV, but whenever Piper comes on with Stitching with the Housewives, my dog Bingo looks up, and he watches the entire show. And he even reacted when week before last, Piper got hit in the head by one of their wooden little displays. And Piper didn't react, but my dog did. So I had to choose Piper for, if nothing else, having a hard head. Okay, so educational.
Helen D.,
Good one.
the East Coast crafter. She has some really good tutorials.
Yeah, and
And they're easy to follow.
she's a designer too.
Well, she has been designing, yes, lately.
Yeah, so that's good. And you always hear on other floss tubes, I followed Helen D's tutorial.
Exactly. I haven't tried one of hers yet, though.
I watched them, but I can't do them. She's the finisher. I'm not.
Yeah, I've been stepping out of my comfort zone to do the finishing.
I chose half stitch cross stitch, Dina, because she has shown me several different things. And when I do a comment and I ask her a question, she answers me thoroughly. There are other people that I may have asked the same question earlier, and I get like a one sentence answer, and I'm still just as clueless as I was before. But Dina takes the time to answer everything thoroughly, and is totally patient. And she's given paragraphs long replies to me. So that's why I chose half stitch cross stitch. And I almost chose Coco as co-star, but since she was getting educational, I didn't get Coco this time. Okay, networking.
I put Mama Loves You GB. Last year before, she started the Great Flosstube, the Great Floss Card Trading. That's not what the
Trading
name of
cards.
it was. Yeah, they were trading floss drops. So you'd send her some, she'd send you some. And a lot of people did that.
That was before my time on Flosstube. I chose Stitching by the Shore, Laura. She has a Facebook page. She does Zooms. She's joined Beth, the Steadfast Stitcher, in creating SALs, and again, she answers the questions and stuff. She actually did so well with the Zooms that I actually tried it. I lasted for about 45 minutes before I had to get out of there. There were 34 people on the same line. It was a bit much for me. And she texted me and begged me not to give in, not to give up, but to keep trying to do Zoom, and I get used to it. We shall see. Okay, the Sal Award.
I picked the Virginia Stitcher. I was watching her whip parade, and she says that she does a lot of SALs, but they're mainly start-alongs for her and not stitch-alongs.
Yes. And I chose Pam from Keep Stitching because this woman has a schedule. 2 weeks of every month, 7 days each week, she's working on a different SAL. And right now, she's busy trying to get one SAL done so she can start one in its place on August 1st. I fought my way through the Ocean Pearl SAL. I couldn't handle 14 SALs. So I thought that's who I would give the SAL award to. The last one is Business Promotions.
All right, Tiger Lily Designs, Carrie of Tiger Lily Designs, because last year during Flosstube, during Flossmas, she promoted a small business every day with knitting and crocheting. And when she sends out her project keeper of the quarter, the club, she has things in there that are from small businesses, not big box stores.
Okay, she has those project cards.
She does do some project cards.
Yeah.
She's not. There are a lot of people that do project, but she has neat ones, and she does a lot of conversions. She does a Tiger Lily conversion, is what she calls it.
Yeah.
And she's a Clemson alumni.
Yeah. That would have, and a knitter.
Yes, she just started that though.
I chose Primrose Cottage Stitchers. I like their newsletter. I like their live streaming videos, even though I can't ever catch them live. So I watch them after they've been recorded. I like the fact that the whole family sometimes is there, the mother and all 3 daughters. I just enjoy the Primrose Cottage Stitchers. I love everything that Lindsay Waite designs. Don't stitch everything she designs, but I love everything she designs. And they do like the sip and stitch cup box or whatever.
Yeah, they just had one out.
They have all kinds of kits. They really do a good job promoting their business, and I think that's why it's so successful. And I hope to get rid of the ums. Now, there's one thing we did not cover, and that's the item that's behind us.
Oh, that's right.
This is a collaboration between Sally and I and another person who ghost stitched this for me. Stitcher's Commandments, and I can't possibly read that from the screen. I do good, so Sally will have to read what they are.
Thou shalt not starteth a new project, lest thou finish an old one. Finally, Stitchers, whenever thou hast fully finished a project, and whenever thou hast given it to as a gift or displayeth it, yet not storeth away until thine heirs have discovered it, then thou mayest purchase a new project.
Now, I told you at the beginning that I'm a born-again Christian, so when I started watching Flosstube, I wanted to buy all the things and stitch all the things, and I had to make commandments for myself. I mean, I literally prayed, God, please keep me from doing this. And so the first one was like based on the Old Testament, thou shalt not. And the second one, I was reading Philippians 4:13, where he says, finally, brethren, whatever is noble and true and all that stuff. He gives that whole long list. It's a long verse. So that's where the second verse came from. Sally designed it on her computer.
I have a cross-stitch program.
And we have a friend, Candy, who ghost stitched it. And she's the one who came up with the shape. We both knew we wanted something that looked like the 10 Commandments, or something. but we hadn't come up with it, and she free stitched it. So we have to give Candy her due.
Right. She did the stitching.
Yeah. So we thank you for watching our video and your patience in all of our issues in doing it. And so I'm just going to say, that's all, folk.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.